Hello and welcome to the second ever special of This Woman's Work. Or is it the first part 2? I don't know. But either way, the second special of This Woman's Work. And this particular episode is full of just the really poignant and often quite powerful stories and snippets that the wonderful women have so far shared with us. So again, I'm just going to shut up and say enjoy.
I've had to ban a man because mid-tattoo he's told me he'd like to ejaculate on my face.
Oh my
Like, that's a completely normal thing to do to me because I am in this industry. And I feel like you wouldn't say that to a girl at Costa.
Yeah.
But because I'm a tattooist and you see like tattoo magazines and it's all like a little bit sexualised.
Yes, it is.
I'm very open about sex. Never with clients particularly.
Yeah.
But again, it was just acceptable. And I was like, I'd rather you didn't come back, I'm uncomfortable. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Don't say that.
Yeah.
I have tattoo penises. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But they will clean their own penis.
Absolutely.
Stencil their own
Bloody
penis.
hell,
The only that I'm doing is with a needle.
Yeah.
That's a weird situation actually, because most of the time when I'm tattooing penises, it tends to be tattooing a female's name on a penis. So I feel like they've probably been a bit naughty and now they need to be tagged on their willy.
Right. Oh, interesting.
And I feel like my stance on that is probably, if you need to brand their penis, it's probably best you just walk away.
What I would tell a younger nail tech out there that's starting is just don't give up. It's so easy to be sitting there with not one client walking through the door and saying, fuck this, I'm going to go and get a job in Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
You know. But, you know, just keep pushing, just don't give up. If you're lucky enough to sort of be in that position of not bringing home a brilliant wage.
Yeah.
And just keep pushing at what you believe you're going to be good at one day.
Through kinesiology, you can totally get the subconscious of that. So, and with that, you can actually ask the body, and I'm talking of strange things, but do you want to get better? And the body will sometimes say no. The subconscious will say no.
Wow.
And that can be a real shock to a client. They'll be like, what do you mean? What do you mean I don't want to get better? And then it's about digging into why they don't want to get better.
Yeah.
So if you're suffering from a chronic illness that you've had for years, and
it's all you know.
It's all you know. And some people could use that as like identify by those things.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, completely understand that.
I've always had the ability to channel, to see, to hear, to feel. We've discussed, haven't we, that I hid it because I didn't feel like I was being professional or I was worried that people would discredit me for all the hard work I'd done over those years. They'd be like, oh, she's some mystic Meg kind of thing. And I really just didn't want that. And maybe I was just around the wrong people.
I spent, as most women in marriages that they're looking after their children, I spent many, many years forgetting I might have had some value to offer. And then when it is like, now go out into the world and get on with it again. And I was like, oh, I've done this for years. Yeah. God. You know.
The self-doubt.
It's self-doubt. Be brave enough to genuinely listen to what you love. What lights you up. And that, I think, especially today, is really difficult for young people because they're bombarded all the time with and this and this and
what you should like,
what you should do.
Yes, it might be confidence, it might be this, it might be that, skills, ability, but it's really not any of those things. It's just you haven't worked out how you're going to do the next step yet.
Yeah.
So my advice is take the first step. Like, just come up with one idea that you can do tomorrow that's easy. Take the first step and see what happens, because you will learn as soon as you've done that.
Yeah.
You'll learn everything you need to know to make the next step as soon as you've taken the first one.
As a sort of tribe of people, we often are quite well, for want of a better word, we're perfectionists. You know, we want to get everything right. So I think that it's a bit of a classic sort of weakness to say, but I think that can trip you up as a surgeon. You know, perfection, I had a really great consultant trainer who just used to say, perfection is the enemy of good. And it really is. You have to know when things are good enough, when not to fiddle anymore, when it's, you know, when you're done. Children with congenital hand differences, there's a lot of emotional sort of baggage for the parents.
Yeah.
You know, why has it happened? Why my child? Are they going to cope? Are they going to get bullied? It's very hard for them. You know, they are just acting out every single stage in the child's future.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think accompanying them on that journey is quite a privilege. You know, accompanying the parents on that journey is quite a privilege. But it is really challenging as well to try and explain to them the child, they're going to be whatever they want to be. You've got Sarah's story there, you know, with her hands. The technical term is a symbrachydactyly, but basically she's had a transverse growth arrest. Like her arm just hasn't grown properly.
Yeah.
But she's, you know, achieving everything.
Still have moments where I doubt myself, or, you know, it's easy to fall into old habits, and I think, oh no, I shouldn't push myself further. It's like, for example, taking on an assistant. I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, I should just stay in my lane, be quiet, you know, just get on with it. So I think that's my biggest challenge, is to catch those moments of thinking, no, stay small, and shout at myself to be bigger. Whoever you're in a relationship with, if you get that funny little feeling in the pit of your stomach, you don't feel 100% comfortable, or it doesn't feel right, run.
Yeah.
Don't ignore it. Don't sort of, you know, make excuses for them.
Yeah.
You can't save everyone. Some people don't deserve to be saved.
I was lucky enough that I had a talent. My talent is driving. It's probably the only talent that I possess.
Yeah. Stop it.
But that was my hook to help me, because nobody has ever said to me, oh, you're a bird, what do you know about cars? Because I will sling a car sideways, and I can do donuts in it, and I can make a car dance.
Yeah.
So, which is more than a lot of motoring journalists can do. And I feel like I'm so big-headed by saying that.
No.
But that's true, and that is, my talent has really been my absolute rock. I would love it if for maybe 1 year all the countries around the world were run by women.
Oh.
And I just wonder the difference it would make, and what kind of...
It would make all the difference. It would make every single bit of difference. It would, because we'd pick
up the phone and have a chat, and then, right, if we can't resolve this here, let's have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Glass of wine.
Yeah.
Equally, it's been my absolute blessing. You know? Yeah. I love being a woman. Yeah. I love it. And I have a daughter who's 12 and a son, so I'm bringing up one of each, as you are. Yeah. And I know how important it is to be a really strong woman who's massively in love with themselves to start with, who's got the confidence then just to go out and do anything.
Yeah.
How many NDAs did you sign?
Quite a few, yeah, loads actually, especially for some of the really high-end weddings that
you filmed.
Yeah, I used to film weddings for another company. They were friends of mine, and maybe 2 or 3 times a year I'd film for them because they needed big teams.
Yeah.
And all their weddings were NDA'd, and they were all like, you know, European royalty.
Wow.
You know, A-list celebrities, actors, all sorts of things, models coming over, and they were on another level. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And often quite another level of naughtiness.
So I lost a dramatic amount of weight very quickly when I was being bullied. And now I know, through all this therapy, that it was a control thing. And it's weird, when I look back, I don't even know if I knew I was doing it. I've got no memory of it. I know I have snippets of what I was going through, but it wasn't that I sat there and thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop eating.
Yeah.
And see what happens. I never did that.
Yeah, it wasn't
never. Aside from Granny passing away, was the only other thing that I've ever really, really, really remembered after all the stuff I've been told over the years that made me... So Max would have been, it's my nephew, he would have been, let's say 3 and Indy was 1. I really can't remember because it's all very blurred back then.
Yeah.
And these messages come in, how's suicide? How are you feeling? And I think I wrote about 8, not a good day. You should write, how do you expect me to tell my baby Auntie Annie's dead? And I thought, oh, it's not nice, is it?
No.
And it was just the words, my babies. How do you expect me to tell my children that you're dead? And I thought, that's awful.
Yeah.
That is horrible. And how could I expect her to do that?
Yeah.
And it was like a smack around the face. And I've heard everything. You're going to die. Don't care. I've heard it all.
Really appreciate the small steps, value the small steps that you're making in whatever the career is. Just recognise that an improvement is an improvement, and it's those small things. You'll then continue to be wowed and amazed by everything that comes along if you've recognised the small things as they're going along. And I know they say don't sweat the small things, or whatever that saying is. I sound really old by saying that.
Small stuff.
Yeah, don't sweat small stuff. I think it's recognise the small stuff, recognise all the small things, and I don't think there's anything wrong in being proud of yourself.
The most challenging area definitely is working in ED. And I just think
it's... what you see, basically. Processing what you see. And
that is very, very difficult in itself, processing what you see and some of the traumatic things that come in through the door. Yeah. And you do have to sort of put it in a box and switch off. But it is always there. So I think that's very, very difficult. But I don't think a lot of the time as doctors and nurses, we allow ourselves to fully process what we've seen.
You wouldn't do it.
Because I don't think we could go back in and do it again.
I'm very aware that whenever I act out of character, whenever I'm unreasonable, whenever I'm short-tempered, whenever I make snap decisions, wrong decisions, it's nearly always as a result of unhealed trauma. And I have to take responsibility for that, nobody else. And I think it's our responsibility not to pass that on to the next generation.
Or to other people.
So yeah, heal your own wounds is definitely the advice that I'd give to people.
I feel like I've gained a lot by being kind of, I don't know, an active community person. And again, I was sort of brought up in a village where that was just like what everybody did. But I've kind of taken that through everywhere that I've lived at uni and things as well. And that for me, I think, just means before this, that meant that I could walk down the street in Stamford and bump into 5 or 6 people that weren't necessarily mates that I was going to go for a drink in the pub with or would be best buddies for life. You know, quite often older people or much younger people or what have you. But I just, for me as a person, kind of feeling part of a community
and that connection
is huge to kind of, gaining value, and then to feel that you can do more in that community and that community's there to sort of catch you, I guess, as well. I just generally think, you know, if you can, being able to get involved with things like that in as small a way as possible. You know, a lot of community organisations literally just want somebody who can answer Facebook messages or, you know, drop something off once a week and things like that. And I just think, you know, it's not always possible, but, you know, sometimes it's not that difficult. And I just think that's kind of, I say, in part enabled me to get where I have here.
It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And people need to be allowed to fail.
At any point in their lives.
At any point in their lives. Our kids need to be allowed to fail.
Because really, you should have failed and given up a lot sooner, shouldn't you?
Exactly. And I could have been on this journey
a lot sooner.
And I wouldn't have had to go through the grief process that I went through.
of kind of really giving up 20 years of my life to a fear of failure.
It was my birthday, and we were supposed to be having burgers here, and then we were all going into town to watch some dodgy band at Mama Liz's or something, and they cancelled the gig, and it was at about 7 o'clock. Boris actually said, "Don't go to the pub," and you know that moment when you go, "They've actually said it."
Yeah,
They've
you were hoping.
actually said, "Don't go to the pub," and close tomorrow. And it was also Mothering Sunday on Sunday, so we had 140 people booked in for Sunday lunch. We got everything
ordered food.
Everything was in the fridges. Everything was ready to go.